In this video, we will discuss the free blocking zone and illegal blocks. The free blocking zone is the rectangular area that extends laterally 4 yards from either side of the spot of the snap and 3 yards behind each line of scrimmage. A player is considered to be in the free blocking zone when any part of his body is in the zone at the snap. The free blocking zone disintegrates once the ball has left the zone. There are two blocks which are normally illegal that are allowed to take place within the free blocking zone. The first is a block below the waist. However, there are a few requirements that must be met in order for the block to be legal. First, all players involved with the block must be on the line of scrimmage at the snap. For a defensive player, this means that they are within 1 yard of the line of scrimmage at the snap. The offensive player must meet the normal requirements of being on the line of scrimmage. So, we could not legally block a linebacker below the waist if he is 2 or more yards back at the snap. Second, all contact must be in the zone. So a tight end could not block a defensive end low if that defensive player is outside the zone of the snap. This also means that if a tight end who is outside of the free blocking zone of the snap can't block low, even if the teammate next to him is able to. Finally, the block must be from his initial movement at the snap. If the player takes a step backwards and then cuts or hesitates in any other way, we would still have a foul. We have to see this block occur immediately after the snap. The second block that is legal is a block in the back. And just like a block below the waist, there are a few requirements that must be met in order for it to be legal. First, the block is by an offensive player who is on the line of scrimmage at the snap. So an H-back that is in the free blocking zone still can't legally block a player in the back. Second, the defensive player must be in the zone at the snap. This does allow for a linebacker who might be a few yards off the line of scrimmage to be eligible to be blocked from behind as long as the other requirements are first met. Finally, the block must take place in the zone itself. Keep in mind that the zone is gone once the ball leaves. This means if we have a shotgun snap to a quarterback who is lined up 5 yards deep, the zone is gone by the time the ball hits his hands. A block below the waist occurs when the blocker makes initial contact with an opponent below the opponent's waist from the side or front other than against a runner. The entire contact should take place below the waist in order for it to be a foul. If a block were to start above the waist and then slide down below, this is still legal. However, we need contact to be maintained. If we have a legal block and then disengagement, followed by a new block that is low, we would have a foul. A block below the waist is a 15-yard penalty that is enforced from the basic spot. An illegal block in the back is when a player blocks his opponent in the back between the waist and the helmet inside of the shoulders. This does not apply if the opponent who sees the block coming turns once the blocker has committed to the block. All contact on the opponent should take place in this illegal area. If there is contact both inside and outside of the area, the block is legal, provided it's not a blindside block. A lot of time we have coaches who want a block in the back when the contact takes place in the shoulder area towards the side. This is legal contact, and while it might look funny, it's still legal. A block in the back is a 10-yard penalty enforced from the basic spot. A blindside block is a forceful block outside of the free blocking zone against an opponent who can't see the block coming. There are a couple of keys to this foul. First is the forceful part. We are looking for blocks that are attempting to punish the opponent. A block from a player who is standing still and that doesn't cause the player to be punished is still legal, even if the opponent can't see it coming. So something like a basketball pick would still be legal. The second is making sure that the opponent can't see the block coming from a few steps out. We can still have forceful contact as long as the opponent can see the blocker coming. If the block is forceful, it must be initiated by the blocker with open hands that are extended away from the body. We want to see at least 45-degree angles in the arms to be considered extended. We don't want to see these blocks initiated with the shoulder. Examples of where we often see blindside blocks are the peel back or crackback block. These take place on a run play to the outside where a wide receiver is coming from the side and blocks the end linebacker or safety who are trying to make a play on the ball carrier. Another one is during a kick when an R player is running to his teammate who is coming in the other direction and blocks a Team K player who is turning in pursuit of the ball carrier. We can also see these quite frequently when a runner changes direction quickly. And finally, we can see these when a player is headhunting. If a player in the open field is not paying attention, particularly away from the ball, he is not fair game to be hit with a punishing blow that he can't see coming. A blindside block is a 15-yard personal foul enforced from the basic spot. Clipping is when a block takes place from behind, at or below the waist. This foul is slightly different from a block below the waist in that A is from behind and B includes contact at the waist, not just below it. Similar to a block in the back, if an opponent turns once the blocker has committed to the block, he is not entitled to the same protection. However, with this type of block, if there is any doubt, err on the side of caution and flag it. But we do need to make sure that we see the whole play before throwing a flag. Clipping is a 15-yard foul and is enforced from the basic spot. A chop block is a combination of blocks by two or more teammates against an opponent who is not the runner. One of the blocks is below the waist, while the other block is above the waist. This illegal block can be done either by the offense or the defense. We typically see these blocks occur at the line of scrimmage. If we have two blocks occur high or two blocks that occur below the waist, provided it's in the free blocking zone and the block is immediately after the snap, we don't have a chop block. We have to have one high and one low. Both of the blockers must be engaged at the same time for it to be a chop block. If we have a low block that occurs at the snap and then which disengages and then a high block that comes in after that, we have a legal play. We also need to see who is engaging in the block. So for example, if a player is blocked low with a snap and then the blocked player engages high with another player, we don't have an illegal block. The blocks must both be engaged by teammates. We also don't care which block engages first, whether it's a low-high block or a high-low block. A chop block is a 15-yard penalty that is enforced from the basic spot. There are a few other illegal blocks that we have covered in other videos, but we'll review here as well. The first is a butt block. This is where a player initiates a block against an opponent with the front of the helmet. This is a personal foul and carries a 15-yard penalty. On a free kick, the kicker, and if there is a holder, cannot be blocked until one of the two things have happened. The first is the kicker or holder has advanced at least 5 yards. The second thing that allows for them to be blocked is if the kick touches the ground or any other player. This is also a personal foul and carries a 15-yard penalty. If a player gives a fair catch signal, he cannot engage in a block. Even if he is nowhere near the ball and makes no effort to catch it, he still cannot engage in a block. If he does, it's a 15-yard penalty. Finally, the kicking team on a free kick cannot engage in a block until one of these three things first occur. First, the kick travels 10 yards. Second, the kicking team is eligible to recover a free kick, meaning the ball has been touched by R before traveling the 10 yards. Or third, the receiving team initiates a block within the neutral zone. We need to be alert to onside kick situations and make sure we are not only watching the ball, but making sure K doesn't gain an unfair advantage by engaging in a block early.